Hi, everyone, and welcome to our last and final talk. Last but not least, I'm super excited to have Ryen here with us. She's the most amazing human being and one of my favorite people of all times. But first and foremost, I just want to thank you all for making it up until this point, for trying something new. So congratulations to each and every one of you that have been doing like the CTF challenge. I know it's kind of scary starting something new, learning everything from scratch, but major props to you all for trying it out. Just remember at the end of this talk, you're gonna have the chance to ask questions, and then we're gonna open breakout rooms where you can get your questions answered. Be sure to submit the screenshot that you found all your flags before October 26th, 11:59 p.m. so you can get entered into the raffle. We have a huge celebration planned on Thursday for you all to come and enjoy some amazing desserts and just really get to know each other and win those AirPods. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Ryen to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. First of all, congratulations, because doing a CTF at all, no matter what, no matter if you're interested in cybersecurity or you've been, doing it for a long time, it can be really nerve-wracking because you have no idea what you're going to encounter. And security is such a broad field that you can never know everything. So first and foremost, I want to say congratulations and thank you, Karen, for inviting me here to speak to everyone. So my name is Ryen Macababbad, and I am a senior manager for product security at New Relic. Behind me, you'll see my brag wall. And so this one is a Soldiers Magazine article where they featured me. This is military, my medals and things, and a picture of me in Afghanistan. This would be Michelle Obama and Jill Biden, and then Wonder Woman, because I got the power. And a very special drawing for Master Chief from the Halo team at Microsoft, which was really cool that they gave it to us for Veterans Day. So I served in the military. I was in the Army for 8 years on active duty before joining Microsoft. I joined Microsoft as a software engineer, moved into program management. I worked in the identity space. So when you have your name at yahoo.com or your name at hotmail.com, that's your identity. And so I worked in the space for both commercial and consumers to connect that identity to all the things in the cloud, and to help commercial customers, enterprises, and companies to leverage our identity platform to power and secure all of their applications, their SaaS applications, software as a service. So I did that for about 3.5 years before moving into security. Then I was on the Microsoft Defender for endpoint team for another 2 years or so before moving into management, building a team of security cloud solution architects for Microsoft and building the template for how they would build out the rest of the security cloud solution architect. And this last July, I moved to New Relic, which is a performance and vulnerability management company, observability platform, so they can identify where there are bottlenecks or performance issues or vulnerabilities, and help people to help companies to make their products better. Here I lead a team that is called Customer Trust Engineering. And what I get to do is to build the brand both externally and internally with all of our stakeholders and our customers about how New Relic is a company that you can trust with your data. And I do that by building relationships with people inside the company to help them understand what customers want, and the security features that they want, and what security concerns they have, and how we should be treating our customers' data so that they can trust us with their data. And then also by working with our customers to let them know and understand how our security works within New Relic.
Wow, that is awesome. So everyone, basically, she's an amazing person to know, especially in the cyber field. And she's a complete badass, if you guys weren't able to tell already. So thank you so much for giving us that background. Since we're all here, and it's Cyber Security Awareness Month, and we all have different paths into cyber. Can you tell me like why cyber? Like, what made you make that decision? How did you like explore cyber? What caught your attention about it?
So the reason why I got into cybersecurity is because at the core of who I am is I'm a protector. And what happened in 2017 was we had NotPetya, which is a ransomware attack that affected a lot of companies and basically shut down operations for a lot of people. And then on the same year, there was also a bunch of ADFS lockouts. So ADFS is Active Directory Federation Services. And what that is like where we have our identity in the cloud, like our often it's our email address, like you'll have your student emails, maybe it's tied into Office 365 or something like that. That's your identity, and it is maybe hosted in the cloud, or maybe your school has on-premises infrastructure that is actually hosting your mailboxes and your authentication and authorization. Well, a lot of companies still use this on-premises component, which is ADFS. And so what attackers were doing was they were hammering it and locking out all of the legitimate users that were trying to gain access to their work resources so that they could do their jobs. So when that happened, I got really, really interested in security, and I wanted to be part of part of protecting these companies, and learning how to help companies secure their work environment to have a better secure posture and be less vulnerable to attacks. So that's kind of how I got inspired, but how I actually got into cybersecurity, I will say it was first because of Twitter. So InfoSec Twitter, Information Security Twitter, is a vast community of people who share information just continuously. And through that community, I learned about someone named Ann Johnson, who was the Cybersecurity Solutions Group corporate vice president at Microsoft. And I started following her, and I started going to her talks, and I started interacting with her on social media, and just learning everything that I could about her, because she was a source of inspiration for me. And then I got to meet her, and I got to build a relationship with her, and she had already seen me doing all of these things, interacting with her on social media and things, and sharing her posts. And so she became a sponsor for me, and she helped me get into cybersecurity as a manager when it came to that step in my career. So her sponsorship was huge.
Wow, that is awesome to hear about. Because for me, I see you as my angel. Like you have really inspired me. And it's really interesting how you mentioned a sponsor. I feel like oftentimes we hear a lot about like mentorship, but could you tell us a little bit more about like what a sponsor means and how that can help in your career?
Yeah. There's a saying, there's a data point that says that 70% of jobs are not obtained through the application process, but through a person's network or the network of someone in their network. And I really think that that's true. I can say for my last 3 roles that I did not obtain them because I went to some site and saw a job that I liked and applied for it. That didn't happen. What happened was that I told people about my passion. I told people about what I wanted to do, what I was looking to build, what I was super interested in, and those opportunities came to me. I didn't have to go searching for them. So the difference between a mentor and a sponsor is a mentor can help you see a different perspective based off of their experiences, right? They can help you to kind of work through things or identify areas where maybe you have some improvement to make, right? Or you need to think about things differently. But a sponsor doesn't do that necessarily. Now, a sponsor can be a mentor, but they're not mutually exclusive. But what a sponsor does is they leverage their power, their network, their resources to provide you with opportunities. And so, for example, if somebody came and met me, then I might introduce them to other people within my circle. And I might talk them up and say, hey, this person is amazing. You should definitely get to know them. And because that other person trusts me, now let's say Karen, for example, now you're Karen because I trust Karen. And so there's a transitive trust there. And so in that respect, I am using my position, my my network to help build up Karen's network, to help build up Karen in somebody else's eyes. And she didn't have to do the work for it because I already did the work by building my reputation and leveraging that reputation to cast her in a positive light. So that's kind of what a sponsor does.
Wow, that is so insightful. I feel like before all I knew was about mentorship and I didn't really understand the power of, I'd always hear like your network is your net worth and like being around people in the same like space of things you're interested in. And like when you go to college, you really start to see that like when you join clubs about like business, if you're interested in business and like meeting so many people like-minded is like a great thing to do. And even now, like going a step above that, it's like, okay, now sponsors and stuff. So that is really insightful. So given our audience, right, like this is assuming that some people have like little to no knowledge and are interested in going into the cybersecurity field. What would you say are key requirements about getting into this industry? Would you say it's certifications, organizations, getting on like that InfoSec Twitter? What would you say?
The number one thing is curiosity. A drive to learn, to find things that you didn't know about before, to discover. That would be the number one skill. And people they definitely discount soft skills more than they should. So when you hear about a lot of cybersecurity professionals, especially like if we say like like 20 years ago, certifications were really important. What you did in school was really important, having a degree. But like I can tell you, I don't have any certifications. I don't have a degree, but I am a senior manager at a well-established company, and I make a very good salary. And I have been given the charter to build teams multiple times, and that's all without certifications or a degree. And what it is that it's my drive to learn. My curiosity and always wanting to see, let's see, how can we break it? How might an attacker break it? What am I missing? And what is the other side of this story? Like, yes, I want to provide this service, but how can that service be used, right? And so I would say that's the number one thing. But this is not to discount education. Like, education is valuable. It doesn't matter how you learn. It matters that you want to learn, that you have a drive to learn. And everybody learns differently. The reason I don't have a degree is because I really don't do well in lectures. Like, I absolutely, it's a waste of time for me, because it will be like 30 minutes in and I'll realize that the last 20 minutes I was thinking about something else. ADHD for the win. But it's just something that for me, it doesn't work. But I can read things. I learn really well practically just by doing. And so for me, that's what works. Other than that, I would say, the ability to be flexible, adapting to situations, and resiliency. Like, information security is, I would say that it is um, the closest like field, I think, to that allows you to experience the kinds of emotions and stress that being in a war zone is like, without actually being in a war zone, and from behind a screen in any case, because like firefighters, policemen, and police people, they all experience that too, but without being in some kind of law enforcement or rescue work. Like, I think that's information security is very very intense. And so the ability to kind of like bounce back from things, and to understand that, like, and to be able to take care of yourself, like, self-care is huge. I tell my team all the time, hey, you can't pour into others. You can't pour into other people's cup if you don't pour into your own. You can't pour from an empty cup, so you got to take care of yourself. And so I think like resiliency is also super valuable. But I'm wondering if you're thinking more about hard skills.
No, yeah, actually, that's what my next question was going to be. Like, if you had to start all over again, let's say you're in our shoes, right? Like, potentially graduating next semester, or you're just a freshman, right? Like, how would you start all over again if you wanted to get into cybersecurity?
I would have started much earlier. I think so. So one of the things that I think is really important that we are, as an industry, just starting to move into is secure by default. Developing using secure code is good code, right? Is quality code. And the thing, let's see if I'd love to share this. All right. Let me see it. Okay. The thing is that like the builders are trying to accomplish specific task, right? And which one is it? I think it's this one. I am not a Zoom expert. All right. Are you seeing Y stride?
Yes.
Okay. Is anything covering it? Are we good?
No, we're good. I can see it good.
All right. So when you're building something, like you want to be able to authenticate whether it's a service or a user, and you want to make sure that your code can't be changed, right? So it maintains the integrity of it. And you want to be able to prove that nothing was changed by your code, that your code didn't do something that it wasn't supposed to do, and that you were able to maintain the confidentiality of any data that was being used in the code, or to secure the code, or that the code was acting upon, right? And then you want to make sure that that it is reliable, so that it's available when you expect it to be available, and that only those services or humans are supposed to access it are able to access it. And that's the authorization. And so all of these things are part of software development. And so when we look over here on the left-hand side, and this is what security is trying to do, right? We're trying to protect against spoofing, which is, the authenticity part. We want to protect against tampering, and people or attackers making it seem like you're doing something that is actually them doing. Maintaining the confidentiality of the data, denial of service attack, and then elevation of privilege. And these are all the security things that we're trying to that folks in security are trying to protect against. But if you look at it, it matches up directly with what we're trying to do as developers as well. And so when we think about that, and I can share this with you guys if you want it for the future. But if you think about that, security and developers, we have the same goals, and that's why security is so important and should be so important to developers, right? Is because if you can make your code secure out the gate, then you're going to run into less problems getting it, adopted or getting it through security reviews. If you work with security while you're building your code, you don't have to worry about it being the vulnerability that allows somebody to get into your company, or loses people millions or however much money. If you work with security, you can build secure code from the very beginning, and understanding secure concepts allow you to make quality code that is by default secure.
Wow, that is honestly the exact thing I was going to ask you next. So that was an amazing segue, because I feel like sometimes when we go into the industry as a software engineer, we don't think about like security at the forefront, right? And it's kind of like an afterthought, like, okay, we'll deal with that later.
Mm-hmm.
But I think exactly how you put it, like being proactive instead of reactive.
Yes.
And those teams working hand in hand, even as a software engineer, right? Like joining a team, you want to build safe code. You don't want like your access token to be in the code, in the comment, right? Like you don't want to develop vulnerable code because you're affecting your customers and your trust and so forth. So what would you recommend for students to do now to learn about these security fundamentals in their code?
So, it's great to be able to get like formal education, but there's so many free resources out there right now that that you can literally just go on YouTube or LinkedIn Learning or Linda, that's a thing, right? But also like Twitter, going to different groups, like there's often like meetups, small security conferences. I love small security conferences, because you still get like really, really intelligent speakers, but you get to actually talk to them. It's great. Like when there's a security conference that's just coming up, or maybe they have it in multiple cities, like B-Sides, for example, like it's a great place to meet people and build that community, but also get to talk to the people who are experts in their field. And you know what? Everybody loves to talk about the thing that they're passionate about, right? And so, so when you go to these small security conferences, you can learn about the things that that people are passionate about and they are literal experts on. So that's one of the things that I use for learning, I guess. The internet. I mean, TikTok is also amazing. I was on TikTok the other day and I was learning about OSINT. And I was able to, I just, popped it in the search bar just because I was like, oh, I wonder if there's anything on OSINT. And there was, and it was crazy. Open source intelligence is what that is. OSINT, open source intelligence. It's basically what can I find out using things that are just publicly available? You would be scared. You would be scared if you knew what was out there and publicly available about you. It's kind of creepy, but it's kind of amazing.
Wow. No, yeah. Honestly, we gotta make security TikTok. Just how there's a Twitter infosec TikTok. But no, that's awesome. And I appreciate that you like explained what that meant, because I remember when I first started out in security, I'd hear all these terms like DDoS attacks and like all these terms. And I was like, wait, what are all these things? And I feel like even though right now it might seem like overwhelming, it's honestly just because like you haven't really looked into it, and the more experience you get, the more you're like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, and like you start just getting more familiar. Well, I have so many more other questions, but I want to give everyone else the chance to ask a question. If there are any, feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, or type it in the chat. Yeah, I want to give you guys a bit of time before we go to breakout rooms. Thank you so much, by the way. This has been extremely insightful. And especially right now, since all of us are, I feel like we're in pivotal parts of our lives, but it's kind of like, what do we want to be when we grow up? And now that question is becoming more and more real every day as that graduation day gets closer. So thank you so much for coming. Any questions? Okay, I see that there are no questions. Also, feel free to put them in the chat. Don't be shy. Ryan's like the nicest, most coolest person. And just to, for security conference, I put the B-Sides in SF. There's also like KernelCon, which is when we were talking about. The big one that me and Ryan actually met at was at Black Hat. That is also a thing that you guys can go to. They have like scholarships and stuff like that. There's also the RSA conference in SF, which is free for college students. So there's like a lot of different ways to get involved in like the InfoSec community, and just continue. This might just be the start, but it doesn't have to be the end. So you can definitely continue this and have a career in this. So with that being said, be sure to follow Ryen on Twitter. She posts the best content. And yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ryen. And,
thanks for having me.
Oh, we got a question. Where can you find out about these different conferences?
Oh, well, you can definitely find out about them on Twitter, but most of them will have just pages. So if you search on Google or your DuckDuckGo, your favorite, search engine, for information security conferences near me, I'm sure that you can find them. But some ones off the top of my head, B-sides, which Karen posted about, KernelCon, which is a play on words for the computer kernel and a corn kernel. And there is HushCon. There's Diana Initiative in Las Vegas. That's really cool. ShmooCon. Did ShmooCon end? Is that over? Man, I can't, now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of any. But
the thing is that there are so many, like
there
also
are,
in
yeah.
SoCal, there's like ShellCon, AppSec Cali, and these conferences are nice, you guys. Like ShellCon happens like on the beach. AppSec Cali, which is like all about like application security, that happens in Santa Monica. Like literally, you're looking at the beach while you're learning about security. It's very, very nice. And there's also the cybersecurity summit. And the reason I know about all of these is because I was in high school and I was like, I can't afford to pay to go to these conferences. So I was like, can I volunteer, please? I'll work for free if you guys give me access to the videos. But something that's really cool is they actually post most of their talks, I would say, on YouTube. So they're like accessible from anywhere. Just from your phone.
Yeah.
Google the conferences.
Especially from 2020, 2021, a lot of that content is even free. So like Black Hat posted a bunch of their stuff for free. RSA, KernelCon posted their content for free. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I will definitely say like there's a huge shortage in like the cybersecurity field, so they really want everyone to like learn about it, get involved, and really build that community. So if you want to learn about it, there's a place for you in this huge cyber field. But I will now open the breakout rooms so you guys can get your questions answered. I just opened them. Feel free to join it to get your questions answered. There's going to be like myself and other. Oh, sorry, I got like a Zoom notification that I wasn't aware of. And yeah, so make sure to get your questions answered. Make sure to find all the flags before October 26th to get entered to those AirPods. Thank you all for coming out. Bye.